Hi there, welcome to segment 2 of the video discussing the Chestnut Street wrap cable pattern. It's a combination of a garter and stockinette stitch cable, and it's done over 4 stitches for 28 rows. You'll notice that I have already done 5 rows of my cable pattern. I cast on down here and I just knit 1 row, and then I began my cable pattern on a wrong side row. Please make sure that you place those stitch markers on either side of the 4 stitches you're working so that you don't get confused with where to begin your cable pattern and where to end it. Sometimes that can get really confusing because we have those purled stitches on either side that are for our rib pattern. So please make sure that every cable pattern you place those so that you don't end up making mistakes and having to rip out your work. All right. I've already done the first 5 rows, so I'm on row 6 working a right side row and I'm ready to cable. Go ahead and catch up with me right now. Press pause, turn it off, whatever you need. Go ahead and work your first 5 rows. All right, let's keep moving on. Now it's time to actually cable these 4 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and why don't you work to your marked stitches. Now I only have 2 stitches. I decided not to cast on 74 like you did because I figured I actually needed to work this quickly with you. Now my hands are a little sweaty, so if I'm moving a little slow or a little jerky, I really apologize for that. Alright, I'm at my marked stitch. I'm going to go ahead and slide that stitch marker onto my needle, and I'm going to take my cable needle. Now you'll notice mine's actually a crochet hook, but I figure for 2 stitches I didn't need to buy a set of double pointed needles in size 10. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to slide these first 2 stitches onto my cable needle, and I'm going to move that cable needle back here to the back. My next 2 stitches I'm going to knit. I always like to just let my cable needle hang there instead of trying to hold on to it with my other fingers, and just push it out of the way if you need to. 1, 2. Now I'm at my next stitch marker, but I'm not going to slide it on yet because I need to knit those 2 stitches that are on my cable pattern, or I'm sorry, that are on my cable needle. So I'm going to slide them all the way through. Now, some of you might say, well, it's only 2 stitches, I'm just going to hold them with my finger. And that is totally okay. Just make sure you don't let those stitches drop. 1, 2. Alright, going to let my cable needle drop. Going to slide that stitch marker now onto my right needle. I'm going to bring my yarn around to the front, and I'm going to continue in my purl 2 knit 4 or knit 4 purl 2 rib pattern all the way to the end, to the last stitch, where I'm going to slip the last stitch purlwise. Now I'm going to turn my work and I'm ready to do the next row, row 7 of the cable pattern. Now let's take a quick look at the front here. Alright, so on the right hand side of my 4 stitch cable, you see that garter. On the left hand side you see the stockinette. Now when I cabled it though, my stockinette has now moved over onto the right hand side and my garter is going to be on my left hand side. So that means when I am going to be on the wrong side, I need to make sure that these 2 stitches right here, I'm going to continue in that garter ridge. Here we go. Let's turn it around. Get my needles into the right hands here. Okay, gonna knit that first stitch. Oops. Purl. Why don't you go ahead and work in your rib pattern all the way to your marked stitch. Boy, that was a tight one. Oh, no wonder why. Alright, here I am. I'm at my stitch marker. Now, I had to remember that those first 2 stitches, I need to work in the garter ridge pattern. So I'm going to knit the first 2, just like it says for the directions for row 7. You knit those first 2, and then I'm going to purl my next 2. Oh, lost my yarn here. Like I said, my fingers are really sweaty, so that yarn is really sticking. When I get to that stitch marker, I'm going to slide it over, and now you should be at that purl 2, or in this case, that knit 2 section of your rib. So go ahead, now continue to the end of the row in your rib pattern to the very last stitch, slip it purlwise. Okay, so let's take a look now at my 4-stitch repeat. I'm sorry, my 4-stitch cable pattern. Alright, so you can see up here, you can see that my garter ridge is starting to show through. Now remember, you do the cable pattern every 6th row. So rows 1 through 5, you keep going. Row 6, cable. Rows 7 through 11, garter on one section, stockinette on the other. Row 12, a right side row, you're going to cable. Now you're going to repeat rows 1 through 11 again. And then the last 5 rows, rows 24 through 28, you're going to do in your standard rib pattern, just like the rest of the wrap. All right, feel free to contact me at melissa@mondaymorningknits.com if you need more information or further assistance.